This is obviously an amphibian. And at the end, we always ask people who participate what it is, if you know the species, which is a bit unlikely because it's a local species, but maybe you want to have a guess. At the end, we're going to resolve the quiz and we get some more details on it. All right, so I'm going to jump into our concept introduction. So we talked today about quests without QR codes, and we have developed a compass view that makes it easier to use this functionality. We're going to talk about direct access to main functionalities on the landing page of the web app, how to play the game, how to map a tree, and how to explore the events. We're going to talk about kickstarting a new commons with existing nature monuments and the commons leaderboard. I need to explain here the terminology commons. In American English, it's quite clear. It's an entity that is being taken care of by a community. And we use it as the smaller territories within ecoregions. Okay, so I showed this slide already last time. It's obviously somebody drowning in the screen, and there has been created new momentum to this observation that more and more, especially young people, drown in their screens. The last few days, an article of an American New York University social psychologist got viral. It went viral. It's Jonathan Haidt. He published a book. It's called The Anxious Generation. And he claims that there is an epidemic of mental illness, especially in the US, but also other countries expanding. This is nothing new. We have been talking in our group here about The Social Dilemma, a film that went online in Netflix in 2020. We have been also talking about Irresistible, a book by another psychologist published in 2017. There's really a problem with technology abuse. And this is the reason, or one of the reasons, why we all work in environmental education. We know that people need to spend more time outdoors. The threat that I see here is technology is being made evil. And we also agree in this project that we need to have mindful technology to really help us get going and scale up environmental education. The claims that Jonathan Haidt, this NYU professor, made in his book is there should be no smartphones before high school, no social media before 16, completely phone-free schools, and, which I think is most important, more independence, free play, and responsibility in the real world. So I agree with all of this, but the question is really how we do it and how we structure it. Because there is a huge pressure in our curricula. It's very competitive, and this is somehow also where our project is anchored. So we have repeated this many times, but not for a while. We think that tech is not inherently good or bad. And the same is true for gamification. So we think that technology can have a very, very powerful, it can be a very powerful help for our cause, but it needs to be applied in a very mindful manner. And this is a statement from Adam Alter, who wrote Irresistible in 2017. The book that has been recently published, I think it goes more in the direction to really ban technology like alcohol was banned in the United States. And it's a complete prohibition. So I think this is also not the right way forward. Why do we need technology? Because we live in a world that actually gives us all the impulses we need for our survival. And this is what the ecologist James Gibson published in the late 1970s. So we have an eye, we have an optical information, and we perceive the environment. This is what you see in the graph. And automatically evolution designed us so that we can really act upon this information. But the problem that we have nowadays is that we spend so much time in front of screens that we don't connect anymore to the environment. And we try to overcome this. We want to create also artificial landmark salience. So landmark salience means that, for example, a large tree that has an important value, important information for us, that we can actually really perceive it. And we don't do this anymore. People don't perceive trees. They walk past them, as one example. And this is what we try to achieve with our work on the web app. But not only the web app, we have many mechanisms in our project. So on the left side, you see a classic Japanese Shinboku decoration of an old tree. And what happens is that you really notice the tree. In the middle, you see the BFG cards that we have developed in the app. So basically, the trees that are being mapped show the ecosystem services. They can be printed and they can be collected by players and users of the app. And then we use something widely applied, a map of those trees. This is what you see on the right side. So we can communicate nature's value and beauty using functional and physical affordances. And we do this not only by decorating them physically, but we do it also by mapping them on the app. Yeah, and I hand over to Gloria. This is how we did it in the past.
Yeah, sure. In the past, we used to decorate the trees that are part of our routes through this Shimboku decoration. So we used to hang a rope around the trunk of each tree so that they would be visible, and this would create cognitive salience in the participant of our route. But we didn't only attach the ropes, we were also creating QR codes so that the participants of the routes could scan the QR code and actually get quests and being able to complete the route. To create those QR codes, we needed to print the page, like first to create the QR codes, then print it, laminate it, and then create this whole, like pinch it. And afterward attach it to every rope. And this was actually, I have to say, a quite time-consuming thing. And it was also not only time-consuming, but also like it has a cost because of like printing and laminating. And also I have to say those decorations, like we really liked them, but not everybody likes to have trees decorated. Like if you put it in a private, in a public walk, for example, sometimes mayor wouldn't agree on decorating trees that are actually in public parks. So this was creating a friction for our walk of creating our routes. And this is why we actually came up with a different solution of geocaching functionalities. So that quests can be created without QR code.
Right, yeah. So we have quite a considerable friction here in town because we tried to decorate a couple of trees, but the government really told us they don't want it. They don't want this. They don't like decorated trees. So quests without QR codes. This is what Lucas is going to show us now. So we hand over to Lucas.
All right. So I'm starting the screen sharing. All right. Can you see my screen now?
Yep. Yes.
Cool. So as Gloria said, one way to let people participate in those quests, which means walk around a route and collect trees into their profile, which means answering the quizzes that we put on those trees and collecting those trees is one way to do it. Another way to do it is just with your phone. There is no need for any QR codes. Let's have a look how this works. So to participate in quest or to go on a quest, I'm going to start with my commons. So I can see my learning space in here, and I'm currently in Sampleton. So I'm going in there, and this is the page of the commons. And on the top right side, I can see the quests. So as soon as I enter the quests for the first time, I get a bit of an introduction. So I get to know that big friendly giants are ancient trees with impressive superpowers. I should go to find, collect, and protect them. They are the pillars of the world. Without them, human life is impossible. And I can see what badges I can gain by observing and mapping trees. And I know that I need to select the quest close to me and start my adventure. So I continue. I zoom out again, and wow, many quests to select. I go a bit closer to see what's around me, and I'm in a park in the Sonnen Park, and I can see there is a quest in here. So I'm gonna embark on that quest. I enter. At this moment, I'm gonna switch to the mobile view because probably I'm not bringing my computer, but I'm on my phone. I get a bit of an introduction, and I continue. I get to know how to play, so I have to navigate to the closest tree. I have to observe the tree and answer the questions. I have to collect, and then I will collect a collectible card, BFG card, and I will check out the superpowers of the tree, and then I will continue and complete the quest. So now I'm on the map, and if there are no QR codes, I just have to get close to the tree, and I will be guided by the app for the rest. So this blue dot is me. I'm gonna select a tree number 1, Berk, and I will click navigate, just as the instructions have asked me. And yeah, so now I can see how far I am from the tree, and I just need to get there. And now I will have to rearrange my screen a little bit because, as you might have guessed, I'm not really in the park, but I am using my computer to fake my location, as IT guys do. And I'm gonna move a bit closer. And I think it's around here. Yeah. And unfortunately, I have to reload this. It doesn't happen automatically in the real time. And I can see, wow, now I am very close to the tree. I'm less than 5 meters away. The app asks me, can you see Berg, the tree now? And yes, I have made a visual contact. I say I can see it. And I enter the quiz. This is the quiz that Gloria, Elena, and Knut have created on this specimen. So I will answer some questions quickly. This is the first stop, so some basic things. And I get some information. I found a big friendly giant, a really big one. And there is also a story attached. There is unwinding throughout the route. And I've completed the stop. I gained 1 impact point. I collected 1 tree into my profile. And this is the collectible card in which I can see the superpowers of the tree. Collects 9,000 kilograms of CO2 per year. Yeah. If I click these statistics, I get to know more information, not on the phone, not on this view right now. And then I continue the game, and I keep moving on and observe the other stops. Made them green on my view. Yeah, so that's it for observing trees without QR codes anybody can now create a quest without actually having to have any associated cost with decorating the trees, printing the QR codes, or asking for permissions to hang those QR codes there, or having them taken down, and invite their friends to go and walk their routes. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So maybe also to add this information for Sinlin, it's not our intention. We actually want to decorate the trees. So engaging the kids, especially young people, in the arts and decorating the trees is what we would like to have. But sometimes you need to find a way around and yeah, make it work even if the local government does not collaborate. So this is why we have this functionality now. And it's quite powerful because we can do also geocaching quests with hidden objects that are not visible to everybody. Okay. So anyway, we thought for today that we make a quick Q&A after each new functionality. If you have questions right now in regard to this functionality, then please ask.
I just forgot to mention that one improvement since last time is that now you can see which way you're facing. This was a feedback that we got from the users, that they don't know which way they are supposed to go. So now the little arrow that is representing you is turning according to where you are facing with the phone.
So the mobile phone is a compass and becomes quite a purposeful tool to navigate in nature. If you don't have any questions, don't worry. Yeah, I just thought it makes
I
sense.
have one question. Yeah, but it's a technical question, not so much about the content, because Apple is raised the intention that they want to close down PBA apps, browser-based apps, and that might be returned. This decision, but it's still unclear. I don't know. Have you heard about, and how do you plan to deal with that?
Yeah. So fortunately, they backed off. They backed off with this decision. It was just like this in one of the beta of iOS that was released, but in the next beta it was already back. So for now we're good. The only way around it will be to make a native app, which in the beginning at least will be just a wrapper around the website, but there has to be a more Apple-specific code than there is now. So that's something that we would have to do in this case. There are some more difficulties with authentication in this case. You cannot use the safe passwords and things like that, but so far, all good.
But put this on the radar. And anyway, I really like the hybrid concept of this app, that you can do QR or you can do the virtual way. So organization can choose what suits them best.
Indeed, yeah. One of the next things is to actually disable the QR code scanning button in the bottom that we still have there. It's there always. But for the quests that don't have the QR codes printed, the designer of the route should be able to disable this button so it's not confusing people. Yeah, but anyway, it would be good to get feedback, more field feedback if it is clear how to play. We're adding some more guidance every now and then.
I think Vivian has got a question.
Yes, I have a question. Maybe it's already clear for you guys. It's not yet for me. It's how is this part of function intended to be used? Is this something supposed to be free exploration, or it is used as a part of curriculum by an educator?
It's a very good question. So we have actually spent the winter months to develop 10 workshops. The workshops are also on the app in the library. There's a best practice library. So there are 10 workshops that are designed for schools I don't have the total amount of hours, but all of them have assignments. And basically, the students start to map the school garden, then the environment. They make an assessment of the environment, of the natural environment, and then create themselves the routes. They could do it themselves if they are tech savvy and have some nature knowledge, but it is supposed to happen with their geography teachers, with the biology teachers, with the science teachers, and it involves actually the entire school community. Actually, I think it makes sense if I show you this one overview slide, since we have updated it recently. Give me a second.
Before Knut finds it, I can just say that all of these use cases are welcome, I would say. Of course, we are now looking more into the schools environment. But for example, at my cottage in Czech Republic, we have made a route with Knut, and I'm going to change it into this self-guided route next time I'm there, and ask my visitors and family to give it a try.
Yeah. Another application is actually more close to Jüngre. We're gonna meet on Monday with Nature Friends. It's one of the oldest environmental organizations in Europe, and they have 700 huts. And basically every hut is a starting point to develop those routes. So this would be also one application for youth education in nature.
Yeah, that's great. Well, the reason I asked that, it was also I realized the triggering points of interacting with this app might be different if with or without a QR. For example, if the QR code is something that when you are close to the tree and you see the code and you scan it, you might be just free roaming and you walk around, or you're giving a general silhouette of the tree that you looked for, and you found the tree and you scan to see if you have found it correctly or not. This will be one way of interacting, and another way will be the teacher gather the students and let's, this is our task today, and find your tree and use the navigation tool and find the tree friends and interact with him or her. So this might be it depends on how it will be interacted. I could see both of these way works well. And I mean, if I were just showing kids around the park and without a very clear pre-designed curriculum, I might just gave them some description of a certain tree friend in a paper, and then they will have to go around and they find the tree and then they scan and say, oh, I found it right, or they found, oh, I found it wrong, and then they get more chance of meeting more trees. I mean, it could be used in various ways based on educators, and I could see both of these functions well, with or without the QR code. And for the one that with the QR code, I wonder if it's ever possible to create a like small plate and stick it in the ground in front of the tree. Is it possible to have the QR code somewhere near rather than on it? If that's not possible, I know some other function that's called something near, the function that you use in the museum. It's not directly scanning, it's just by location. If you are close to this artwork, it pushes the introductions of the artwork on your phone.
But this is called near. What Lucas introduced now. This is the function that Lucas introduced now. It's like a museum extension. So when you're close, 10 meters close, then this is what was introduced. So we have this function now.
It's similar, yeah. I mean, for this what we have now, you still have to first select on the map which one you want to go, and then only this will trigger the have you seen the tree confirmation. But the second way is like that you have just the map open, and as you said, it could be like a voice noise guidance, like ding ding, you are close to a tree. and the info about the tree is pushed, is popping up. And it's Knut was already asking me about that.
Yeah.
It's a bit more challenging to make it, let's say, not intrusive or not overwhelming, I would say, because sometimes we have a lot of trees in one area.
I think in marketing language,
Yeah,
they call this a beacon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
So,
anyway, like the main advantage
Yeah.
of the QR codes is that even people that have not intentionally came to learn about trees might get curious and scan. But from our observation, it doesn't happen very often.
yeah, it doesn't happen very often. So we currently focus really on the school setting and the curriculum. And we actually have explored several age groups that we work with. So we have treasure hunts for very small kids. So we put a physical object in a forest and they just have to find those little ghosts. And by that, they get in touch with the tree. So this is without any technology. Then we have the quests, which are created by the app. But the kids, this is elementary school, they have a clipboard. They have a clipboard and they get a questionnaire. And then they run around and they see decorated trees. The trees that have a rope or some little goblin or anything in front of them. They need to answer them questions in regard to this tree and really have a physical interaction. And what we showed you today is basically the digital version, which is already for youth, older learners, I would say, at least, upper secondary, when they are more experienced to use the mobile phone. So I'm showing you the workshop overview. This is what we have designed for schools. And do you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is designed for schools. We start with a community map. So the kids go outdoors, they create a map of their own school. This is widely used in place-based education or in service education, that you just get first an understanding of where you are. Then there's a carousel activity, which can be applied for example, school community parties, that you have already some trees mapped and you have a game for visitors, parents, siblings, families. Then we have a workshop on how this ties into eco and bioregions. Then there is a workshop about ecosystem services. And then there is this actual tree mapping. Then there is a culture mapping, route and quest design. Then the route stories, which can be tied very much into language classes, whether you teach German or English or Chinese, doesn't really matter. Then there's the tree decoration part. And the last part is the collectible cards that can be created through the app of each tree that has been mapped. Does this give you a bit of a picture how it can unfold in a school?
Yes. And does it only involve the trees or the other beings around the trees?
Well, yes, it does. We showed this to you a little bit in the end. The bioregional identity is, of course, not only comprised of the trees, but the trees are the keystone species. If there are no trees, there are no other organisms, not even us, apart maybe from bacteria. And so the trees are the foundation, and then around the trees, there are also other organisms like amphibians. We show this a little bit later.
That's great.
Okay.
If I were the kids, I would be interested to know like who are also the friends of the tree, who take the trees as their home, and who interrelate with the trees in a very frequent basis. And there might be some other opportunities. And I think that's a great opportunity for us to practice this interbeingness.
Yeah, absolutely. We only take the trees because they are like semi-permanent, especially the old trees. And they just don't change location. That's simply it. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna show you now is the landing page. We have here new buttons. I'm sorry that I'm trying to keep also our structure of the call, but the second main function that we have released are 3 buttons that guide you to the main functionalities of the web app. And we're gonna show this now. Going back to the call. Up. Where are we? Actually, Lucas, we could actually start directly the web app. Makes it easier.
All right. So yeah, this is the landing page of the ARK. And to make it easier to explore the main functionalities, which were in the past a little bit hidden, we came up with a very simple solution based on cognitive salience. So put the things that you need most often into the place that you can see the most very often. So yeah, we've got here 3 buttons. Explore events, which takes you into the events page of the ARK. So these are all the events that all the communities that have presence on the ARK are organizing. Then we've got a second button, which is play game, and that's taking me into my current commons, into my current location, and letting me to start playing the Big Friendly Giants quests that have been created in these commons. And then there is a third button. Oops. Then there is a third button. Am I coming back? It doesn't want me to go back. Here. Then there is a third button, and that's how the quests go into being. Somebody has to map the trees first. So this is a central functionality. I'm going to switch into the mobile view because this functionality is used only on mobile when you are out there in the wild. And yeah, this is how to add new specimens into the ARK. So I will put the GPS coordinates of the tree. I will describe it, measure it, and then when I'm back home, I will finalize it. And then I create routes, quests, and build an outdoor learning space. Yeah, so that's the third main functionality that we have in here, the mapping tool. Yeah, so
yeah. Also, maybe for Celine, our idea was to build the Internet of Nature, but not through scientists, but like through everybody, through citizens, students, whoever is interested. And to build the Internet of Nature, you need to map the elements of nature. And what can be best mapped is not butterflies, but trees, which are always in the same location. And so this is a central functionality of the app. Any questions in regard to this?
No, I think it's very nicely self-explanatory new functionality.
Mm-hmm. Good. Then let's move forward. The third part that we show today is kickstarting commons, new commons with nature monuments. So yes, we map trees that have not been mapped before, but some trees are also declared as nature monuments, and we import the data, the GPS coordinates of public nature monuments into the web app, and then it's easier to start the mapping process because it is quite a lot of work. And I wanted to add here also this slide so that this becomes a little bit more visible. For us, the building, especially the school, is zone 0. And then we start basically in the garden. You see this on the left side. It's actually a graph that is used in permaculture, but you start in zone 1 to really live place-based education in the outdoors. You start to map the trees there. Soon too is what we understand the city or the neighborhood. And then you continue to map the neighborhood. And this is made easier now because you don't start with a blank, with nothing. You start with something inside. And handing over to Gloria for this.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so as Knut said, like in the past, when let's say an organization wanted to start mapping trees, we have to create a commons first. And these commons would be totally empty. So like they needed to have some expert inside the team that would go outside and start mapping like maybe the nature monuments or the most interesting tree of the area, but the commons look very empty. So now I'm gonna share my screen and just share to you how it looks now. So wait, I should go here. Okay, wait a second, not this one, but this one. Okay, yes. So, for example, this is a new commons that we have recently created because there is a small organization that want to create a big friendly giant with us for an event. It's called Wiener Neustadt. It's a city close to us. And for now, it's super new, but you see that there are already 12 specimens inside. This, which helps so the person that is the common mentors to start with something like they know. Now I'm going to show you what are those 12 specimens. So if I enter into specimen and I look into the map, you see them here. They are already all there. And but as you see, oh, what is happening? I don't know. Okay, but sorry, I have to. Okay, as you see, they are all yellow. Usually, I don't know why my Zoom is getting crazy, but okay, no, it's not gonna work. Okay, good. So they used to be blue. At least when you create a tree, like you map your own tree, your own specimen, and you insert the information by yourself, you usually see them as blue and they get published. But when they are imported, like for these functionalities, they are just yellow because they are incomplete, let's say. So if I click into one, I see is some German species, Schwarz. I can enter into it.
Venus nigra.
Yeah,
Venus
is
nigra.
it a Venus nigra, Schwarzspore? Okay. And but what it say, like the picture, of course, this is clearly not a conifer. It's not a pine tree because this is not the real picture. Like this needs to be seen. So this is what it says in this line. Like the specimen was important, and there are a lot of information missing. So it's asking actually to the person that is the mentor or the common mentor to navigate to the tree and collect the information. Like so, only right now we have only the species and the coordinates inside. This can help the common mentor to add more trees to start with.
Okay, yeah, that's it. So basically, we have now the possibility to scrape with the ARK nature monument data. We would like to do this year, at least for the German-speaking countries, and then continue. Let's see what data is online, published by governments. And then it's much easier for different commons to really start place-based education and build the Internet of Nature faster. This is this functionality, and I think we can recap at this point what we have shown today. So you have seen the quest without QR code. It helps us to create engaging quests, walks in public parks. It turns the mobile phone into a purposeful tool, also for educational purpose. Then we have the landing page functionality buttons. It gives direct access to the role of a player, of a learner, and also of a guardian who takes care of a commons. It reduces the number of clicks, and it explains also the USPs of the app in some way. And kickstarting new commons with nature monuments means really that new users of this web app can start much faster. So that's pretty much it. Are there still questions? Because otherwise we go to the quiz that we have and resolve what kind of amphibian we saw in the beginning.
I do have a question. I think it's great that you do the work and get these data from usually governmental platforms, which for layperson maybe are not always so self-evident to go there and find information there. So that's really a good service to the user that you make them available there. And I've got a question whether it's possible to maybe if you already put this information together, to repackage it as a map for OpenStreetMap. There is, for example, the app OSM, which is a popular navigation app, and they have a lot of configurable mapping functionality, for example, horse routes, water sports, running routes, travel routes, bicycle routes, and so on. Why not have a Internet of Nature map or nature monuments or the big friendly giant map? And that would be practical, but also it would be a way of marketing, because people who use this OpenStreetMap, OSM and app are usually very curious people who want to explore the different functionality. And if they see, oh, wow, there is a new functionality for nature monuments, they actually might want to try it, or often they are maybe educators or something like that. So they can even see how they could be using it for their educational purposes. And then that's the way, of course, they can find also the ARK as a gamified nature exploration tool. So, I mean, that's my question, whether that could be a route of marketing to become available as a map on OpenStreetMap versus respectively on OSM and.
Yeah, I think it's a cool idea. I mean, I sometimes add some roads that I've walked into OpenStreetMaps. I didn't really add many points of interest, but yeah, I think that I never actually checked whether there is already this kind of data in there. That could be actually also a source for us. And if not, then basically doing this work of all the scraping of the data and not only having it on the ARK, but making it available also in OpenStreetMaps, and through that in all the map apps that use this data would indeed be a good way, because usually there is some metadata, and the info page can, for example, be a link to the specimen on the ARK. Yeah.
Well,
cool
we
idea.
discussed this, Lucas. We discussed this earlier, no? Maybe a year ago, no? That we channeled information.
Discuss many things. Yeah.
They have the resources to build this. Yeah, but it's definitely a good idea. We need to link, like we link already to Wikipedia and other platforms. We need to go also to such OpenStreetMap applications.
And this time we should link back.
Yeah. Another one that would be pretty cool, especially now with the quests, is to make it possible also in the ARK to mark that there is a geocache there. So if you are familiar with geocaching, it's always like a small hidden object. And then have the route or the specimen itself both on the ARK and also on the geocaching app, so that people who go out to look for caches actually get into a big friendly giant route through this.
Yeah, there are geocaches, geological ones that are actually quite similar to what we do with the trees. Now, the trees are small nature elements, but I've been recently to Vesuvius in Naples in Italy, and there is an entire volcano as a geological geocache, and so it somehow merges. It's really interesting. Yeah. Good. Then let me.
Can I
Sure.
Can
sure,
I
please.
share some thoughts? I'm learning a lot here, how you guys are so systemically and quite scientific and looking at these objects. And it's something I think it's East and Western education has a lot to share with each other, perhaps. And I feel there's something missing, or something if this will be used in China, it's something we're looking for here, is this not only the language, not only the knowledge that we've learned is nourishing our mind, but we were also looking for the wisdoms that nourishes our heart, and what will be the actions that we could do in service of nature. And there's something about opening up senses in the questions in the in the pages. I wonder if there's a way that you can engage the kids with, not only looking at how tall the trees are, how white the trees are, but also engage the users to think about or smell it, to hear it, to find ways to interact with it. Maybe they could create their own way of interacting with the trees. And you could maybe share a little meditation kits there, or it gave them an opportunity to dwell and to sit with the tree and to see what is the big giant friend, what is our friend wants to tell me. I have never seen this successfully done anywhere, and I personally be looking for a way to combine this heart-centric, love-generating kind of education with the mind and knowledge-based education together. So I just had a
It is an integral part of this BFG project. So the routes that we have, there are questions like sit for a little while under this tree and listen to the birds and count the different birds that you hear or see. So in all the quests that we have, there is exactly this heartfelt sense opening perception inside, whether they are guided or not. And particularly, it's actually the process of the young ones creating their own routes and then decorating the tree that fulfills this function. So we are very much aware that this is not only about science. It needs to be something that is more holistic and touches us as a human being. So yes,
that's
I
beautiful.
Understand what you say.
And can we not call them specimen? It sounds quite a lab language, but this is minor. I mean, it's
well, so you need to separate the roles here. On the ARK, there are different roles. You are either a guardian, which is more the science part, or you are a player, or you're a learner. And respectively, what kind of role you take, you have a different view on the web app. And if you are not, if you're not a guardian, you don't see the specimen and species. We showed it to you, yes, but this is sort of a higher level user application. For a general learner or a player, you don't see this. So you collect the BFG cards, and then the trees are superheroes and they have names. You actually kind of baptize them.
Right.
You give a name to the tree. Yeah.
I see.
So, I mean, you have only seen a small part of the different roles that we have, but for somebody who plays, you actually approach the tree and the tree has a name, or you give it a name. It has to be experienced in the process, so it becomes very personal, and the kids then also develop stories. Storytelling is also very important. They could pick a story. We have one project where we used Ronja, the robot daughter. It's quite a famous Swedish story, and every tree in this route is a character of that story. But I mean, of course, there are cultural differences. In China, there will be different stories than there are here in Europe. So it is quite holistic, I would say. But it's a different role. We showed you today the role of somebody who maps the trees.
Oh, the guardians.
The guardian.
Is that the role?
Yeah, the guardian is basically a role for, I would say, upper secondary age group. The elementary school kids, they just play. And for them, it's more about the stories and, like you said, this holistic experience.
Okay.
So I'm moving.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah. An ecosystem function and ecosystem service are two different things. I would also bring awareness to the function itself. It's not something necessarily due to man. It's the tree as it is has their own life and purpose and has their own, and function to other beings, not necessarily only being as a service as man. And this was given to me as a lessons by John Liu, who was a founder of ecosystem restoration camps. And when I was using the language of ecosystem service, and he said, no, you have to use ecosystem function. I wonder if this is a difference in your work you have made distinction. Not necessarily has to be. I just wonder if other educators in the world are talking about these differences.
Can you recap the difference? We actually only work with ecosystem services as superpowers because they have been identified by many researchers as a very, very useful way to teach people about the value of trees. What do you mean with ecosystem function?
It's I guess in a nutshell is whether to see the world as human-centric or not. So ecosystem service is the language system that comes from the UN system, which is, coming from the worldview that human is more or less at the center of the world, and where, the world, the ecosystem it's creating a service to our human-centered livelihoods and our economies and our beings on Earth. While ecosystem function is stripped that away. It's just, all beings on Earth has its purpose, and then they have their own function as part of the active interrelated ecosystem. It's not necessarily serving the human needs.
Yeah.
So it's just
the
a different
function
wording,
is more neutral,
but it means the same.
Yeah. The service is more.
Yeah, I think
it's interesting.
No,
because I always saw it as a service to the environment, not to the humans.
The meaning is conveyed.
Yeah.
Well, this is once you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think this is where some or many discussions somehow end, because we start to pick words when we actually do the same thing. We have already mentioned many times that it is about moving away from the anthropocentric worldview. So I think we are here on the same page, whether we call it ecosystem functions or ecosystem services. It's the same objective.
As long as the same objective is there, because ecosystem service, once you become second, more researcher based, a lot of economic calculation language is based on the service set of language. So it's relating to a lot of other areas of study that does value an ecosystem in the money senses, which is just brain awareness. It doesn't probably makes much difference on this project.
So in our workshop number 4, we have always space to go into details of this, but services as we understand it, and as it definitely can be understood, means services provided to all life, not to only human beings. I mean, like we said before, trees not only enable our life, but also the life of many other species. And if you see it only like the green capital that you're mentioning, then of course it is very one-sided. Fully agree. Okay. We would like to show you also the other species quickly, because this is the final part of our presentation. We have here the solution to our little quiz. What kind of amphibian is that? And I hand over to Elena for this purpose.
Yeah, so it is Ranodon or angel frog, and it's the most common frog in our area. That's why we choose it. And also we choose an amphibian species today because now it is an important time, especially for amphibians, because they wake up and they start their migration way to the nearest pond or other water bodies where they used to be tadpoles, and now they're coming back to this place. So here we're also coming back to the theme of the ecosystem services or functions, and I would say that in this regards, the important service or function is cooling power of the trees, because for amphibians now have not a lot of time to go to these water bodies, because if it's a small water bodies, they will dry up when the temperature will be high, and if these small water bodies are in the forest, then they will last longer because of the cooling power of the trees. Of course, another problems that amphibians are facing right now is a very high level of mortality during this migration path, because they during their journey they need to cross a lot of roads sometimes, usually I would say, and of course many amphibians die because of the cars. So now it is an important time to for volunteering services for that's protecting amphibians from cars. They set up buckets along the roads and then collect amphibians that were trapped in these buckets, and help them move safe to the water bodies. We participated with the Green Steps team twice already in this event, and last time I think we collected more than 70 amphibians, and it was
Mainly toads.
Mainly toads, yeah, of course, because toads hibernating not in the water, but on the ground, like in the holes, and that's why their migrating ways are usually longer than, for example, for Asian frogs. Yeah, and also for toads and newts are most likely to be harmed by vehicles because they're just less agile than angel frog, for example. Yeah.
Yes. And knowing these three species, this local newt, the agile frog, and this toad, the bufu that you see here in this picture, is part of our local bioregional identity. So on the ARK, you basically collect those species, and we participated a couple of times in such walks and collected them ourselves, and then we created a best practice, which is this one. And next year we can activate this practice again. And whoever participates in this route, it's a specific location in a forest with a couple of old trees, collects also these species. And this is how our bioregional learning unfolds. I'm actually moving now to my profile. And you see here my profile. I have 50% bioregional
You need to switch the sharing window.
Come again?
We don't see it.
Oh,
We don't see it. Yeah.
then I need to reshare again. So I'm moving to my profile. And do you see it now?
Yeah.
So I was just in the library. This is the best practice that we created. So it is a route, and it is about learning the most important amphibians in our region. And if you participate in this activity, then you get the 3 amphibians awarded. And I wanted to show you how this looks like. So I go to my own profile. Now, my own profile, you see that I have already 58% bioregional identity. But if I go, for example, to my son is 11. He has only 22.6% bioregional identity. And if I click on the bioregional identity, I see which species and which specimens he has already observed. And you can set, for every region, you can set the species and the specimens, the trees, amphibians, birds, that you think the local young learners should know. You define it. You see we have here in St. Pölten, we have 337 species, and my son has observed already 27% of those. And on his profile, he can see all his observations across the web of life. You can see the observations, but also the species. And if I go into categories, these are the amphibians that he has observed. And he did this during that walk that Elena mentioned, like last week. So that's the concept of the ARK in the back end for the learner, that you have a playful experience with some, let's say, more knowledgeable nature lovers, and then you collect the different species on your profile and grow your bioregional identity. And it is different. Wherever you live, you always have a different bioregional identity.